So in algebra, when the way algebra is taught, when students are learning algebra, um, there is a problem which arises, which highlights the fact that we are taught addition and subtraction the wrong way in the first place as little kids. So I've noted before that you can take any two numbers, add them together, and get any result. The only way that, well, no, there's an infinite number of ways, but the only way that you can guarantee consistently that you will get the result that you are trained to expect, right? That 2 plus 2 will yield 4. The only way you can guarantee that is if the units of all of the numbers are the same. But this doesn't tell us anything about when the units are different. Right? We don't know if the units are of each of the terms is allowed to vary, then you can't know. You can't know what the result will be. This comes up in algebra. Very, very simply and obviously, it comes up in algebra. So say we've got a simple linear equation, right? Like y equals 3x plus 10 or something like that, right? So there's just a straight line. Very nice and easy, right? Y will be 10 plus whatever the value of x is multiplied by 3, right? Okay. But because I don't know what y is and I don't know what x is necessarily at any given instant, I can't just mush this together and get y equals 13x, right? The 3 and the 10, you can't add them together like this because they have different units. One of them is a number of x's, and the other one is a number of units. They're different. They're incommensurate. You can't join them together. And this confuses almost universally. This confuses students coming into Algebra 1. If we were teaching addition correctly all along, this shouldn't be a problem. What is having to happen is that students are having to be given a corrected sense of how addition and subtraction operate. And the only reason that you need to correct things is if you made a mistake in the first place. So the fact that virtually every algebra student is having to undergo this correction, it means that you taught it wrong in the first place. So this right? Like it's really common to use something like, oh, 1 plus 1 is 2, or 2 plus 2 is 4, or something like that as like a reference to basic knowledge, basic information, basic competence, basic skills. But ironically, it's really, really easy to demonstrate that that sense is actually incompetent and wrong. So it's funny to me that we have this sense. And really anybody who is like sort of in a professional role has probably gone through at least high school and some degree of college and probably run into this themselves personally, where they ran into Algebra 1 sorts of issues and they had to reassess the way that they process addition in order to pass tests and pass the class and get a degree or whatever, or graduate high school or something. So it's really strange to me that this ubiquitous experience is completely ignored in the popular consciousness. Like, you've probably personally run into this problem and it caused you issue, and your teachers ran into this problem and it caused them significant issue because they're seeing it with every student that they have. And nobody is ever stopping and saying, wait, 2 plus 2 isn't 4. We can only guarantee that when our units are commensurate. Because say we have, this is a common thing. My daughter was just given questions like this the other day. She's in Algebra 1. And it'll be something like 3x plus 2y equals 7. And then we want to change this into a y equals mx plus b format. Well, so when you bring the 3x over, does it add or subtract to the 7 directly? Like, okay, so they're both positive, so when it comes over it's going to be negative, so is it 4x? Or is it just 4? Well, no, because they're different units. But, and this is what she was doing, her automatic response was, oh, okay, well, just like, 3 plus 4, or 3 plus 7 is 10, or 7 minus 3 is 4, or, whatever the signs are, or mixed up signs, because it's easy to mix that up, right? No, that's wrong. And the reason it's wrong is something that's really obvious, but something which has been abstracted away from your sense of how mathematics works, of how the world works, by being throughout your entire educational career as a child, being just barraged with 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. You're stupid if you don't know that 1 plus 1 is 2. Well, 1 plus 1 can be anything, really. It depends on your units. And this comes into play when you run into algebra. And this is one of the problems. Like, students are like, well, why are there letters now? What is this? Those letters are marking your units. All of the things that are x is the same unit. All of the things that are y is the same unit. The fact that it took you this long for somebody to teach you this correctly is a problem. Right? Right? Because 1 frog plus 1 chair doesn't give you 2 possums. That's not how it works, right? So 3x plus 2y can give you 7, or it can give you 12, or it can give you 39. So 3 plus 2 can give you anything. Because your units can vary. That's what it is. Or 3x plus 2y could give you 5. 3 plus 2 in this case can be 5. What you would naively expect from 3 plus 2. But it depends what x and y are, how they relate to each other. And there's an infinite number of x and y pairs in this situation, which could give you 5. Right? X could be 0, and y could be 2.5. That'll give you 5. 3x plus 2y. That'll give you 5. They don't have to both be 1. Right. There's an infinite number of ways to make this occur. And the intuition that you are taught and it is beat into your head as a child, it's not wrong, but it's far from complete. So whenever people are like, oh, 1 plus 1 is 2, and use that as like some reference to basic knowledge, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. Because 1 plus 1 isn't 2, necessarily. There's an infinite number of ways that it can be. But there's an infinite number of ways it could also be 6. There's an infinite number of ways it could be 0. It depends on your units. And this is an important thing. And the sense of units is, the missing sense of units is really, I think, what makes algebra difficult for students. And it makes it difficult for virtually all of them in exactly the same way. And in a way which is not addressed very well, or very accurately, or very reliably, by the way that we teach. Um, and I find this fascinating. Like, what is it that we're doing that is just prohibiting us from recognizing that 1 plus 1 is not necessarily 2? 1 plus 1 is 2, reliably, only when your units are commensurate. When your units are incommensurate, it might be. 1 plus 1 might be 2. Right? X plus Y might be 2. It can be. But that doesn't really... it's not guaranteed in any way. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's fascinating to me that we have this problem, but it's viewed popularly, and even by like mathematicians and physicists and shit. They'll be, oh yeah, 1 plus 1 is 2. What are you talking about? You know damn well that it's not. What are you doing? Holy shit.